What's up, everybody? This is Greg with Advantage One Brokers, and this is the ADV1 podcast. This is a podcast we come to you each and every weekday with relevant topics and trainings and guest speakers. And today, I have a very special guest speaker. I have Mr. Trevor Dunbar. Trevor, how you doing, brother? So, we are recording today's episode on Veterans Day. So, happy Veterans Day to all of the veterans out there. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do, and you ladies as well do. This is the final week. This is November 11th. We get 2 more days of the quality level term competition. And last little bit of notes is we have on the ADV1 store, we have the hashtag t-shirts, we have polos, we actually just made a brand new backpack, like a ADV1 laptop backpack. So if you want any swag, make sure you go to the swag store, the ADV1 store. And with that being said, Trevor, let's go and talk. let's have a conversation. So we're coming off the managers retreat. And you know, you and I connected and kind of talked about some things that happened while at the end of that when we were coming back, and you know, it was something that I think was powerful enough that we're like, hey, let's get on and just have a chat and talk about this. And so I'll let you jump in.
Yeah. So so funny enough, I left my previous company a couple months ago and came over here, and there was a number of different reasons, but then about a month in, I had been more focused in our whole team been focused on looking forward. There's been a lot of I don't even know what you'd call it, slander. There's been a lot of drama that has come from us leaving the other company. And so I've really been trying to focus and get our team focused on, don't focus on that stuff. Just move forward. Let's focus on watering the grass that we're on. But last week, the company that I left, they came out with a new lead source, Greg.
Yeah.
Called Bounty Leads.
The old Bounty Leads. I know a lot of internet went on fire when that came out, but yeah.
Like, for those of you who don't know what a bounty lead is a list of all of my clients, because I'm an inactive agent now. Now, an inactive agent who was not able to be released. So not only were my contracts not released, I had to terminate all my contracts, self-terminate.
Mm-hmm.
But now, even though I did all the things that I was coached to do over there by putting my clients in the position I did with the carriers that I did, now that I'm not there, even though I thought that I was fully vested and I owned my book of business from day one, and if I found a better opportunity, I could take my book of business elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out my book of business, not only am I not being released, but all of my clients are actually being sold for $5 a piece, and it's perfect. It's a perfect lead source because
they've already bought. They're buyers.
What carrier they with? They're buyers. Now, I can't imagine that carriers would look at this favorably from an IMO standpoint, because they're basically having business taken off their books that was good business. It was put in place.
Yeah.
In a good way. So anyway, I took a couple of phone calls from people on my team, and they were literally in tears because this is affecting their livelihood. It's putting them into debt. In some cases, they've been locked out, don't even have access to their information anymore. And so it's just what it did for me is I think sometimes part of leadership is being able to have those uncomfortable conversations on behalf of other people. And while I want everybody to continue to look forward, I want to kind of paint a picture today. And in fact, you just brought up the phrase
ethical fading.
Ethical fading. And I'm like, man, let's just talk about ethical fading. So with that being said, about 16, 17 years ago, I was a business owner. I was a lieutenant in the fire department. I served in my community, at my church and whatnot. and I got into real estate investing, and I actually met a couple of guys because I was selling my company, and one of them was setting me up with a buyer for my company. And at the time, this is back in '05, and at the time, real estate market was just booming. And so I got, I had some money, I had a great credit score. I basically was taught how to invest in real estate. And so we were buying homes and then renovating them and flipping them. And I remember, Greg, one time I sat down at the closing table at the escrow office, and I'm going through and filling out the loan paperwork for a couple houses that I was buying. And on the form, there's a spot that said, "Are you going to occupy this home?" And the escrow officer, as well as the person who was my quote unquote mentor, were like, "Yeah, just check yes." Now, technically, I could have moved into those homes. Like, they were in my area, they were there. My intention was not to move into the homes. And so, like, I felt this kind of internal tug, but I'm like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, dude, this is how it gets through. The banks don't care. This is just how it works." And so, check, loans go through. And I felt sick to my stomach when I did it, but I was just like, I guess this is how it's done, right? So fast forward a little bit, the market starts turning. And I had these, while we were renovating these things, there was a lot going on, dude, in this circle of investors. Well, about 12 months later, dude, the wheels start falling off the bus on these investments. Market's turning, everything is going sideways. I get a phone call from the FBI. And they're basically being researched. This group of people that I'm working with are being investigated for fraud. And like, everything's out in the open. I shared everything that I've done and what's going on, all this different stuff. Dude, we had about $2.5 million wrapped up in real estate from myself and a group of family and friends. And in the midst of this, I mean, $250,000 of it was just straight stolen from this guy who was a pastor. And then the other guy, which he somehow was able to sneak his way through the process without ever being, ever being held accountable for it. But the other guy, he got nailed and went to prison for 6 years for wire fraud. In fact, I'm still receiving payments today for damages because of a court order. And the reason I bring that up, Greg, is because, I was good intentions, but I got surrounded by the wrong people. I got surrounded by people that were focused on greed, and they had allowed some things to get out of control. And what probably started as good intentions for them as investors, the deeper they got into it, the easier they realized what they were doing. It moves into this term that you brought up today called ethical fading. Yeah. And they started justifying all these actions because everybody's doing it and it's okay. And a lot of young people are coming into this industry, and a lot of people who were like me, who were changing careers and moving into it. And I just think the importance of having your eyes wide open in who you do business with. Yeah. And understanding that ethics are an important thing. None of us are going to get it right all the time. We're all going to make mistakes. Business has a lot of gray areas. But eliminating that, dude, I just think it's so important for people who are getting into this industry or asking the question, hey, where should I join? Who should I work with? These are some questions that I would be asking because, dude, it's important. Like, people's lives, like right now, there are people, just because of these bounty leads, there are people that I know and care about who are going to have thousands of dollars of chargebacks that are going to come from other carriers that they've had to self-terminate because they wouldn't release their contracts. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to attempt to put vectors on if they don't work hard enough to get that business, get what was good business, get that debt paid down. And so, like, I don't want to run with a group of people that think like that. I mean, there's the term that I heard over there, Greg, and correct me if I was wrong, got to be great for the agent, great for the client, can't hurt the company, right?
Yeah. Is it?
don't know.
It's definitely not great for the agent, but is it really good for the client? Like, is it really?
Really good
Is it?
because before, yeah, like there was a company we used that gave an 8% bonus, and we were basically made to be fools if we didn't use that. What, you don't like 8%?
Man, you don't like extra money?
Yeah, you don't like extra money. And so now that's easy fruit because they were one of the most high priced carriers in the industry.
Yeah.
And so that's just like low hanging fruit for these bounty leads now. I can't imagine that company can be happy that all their business from a company that supported them is going to be taken out by other companies that have better prices. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Greg? You think that that's a win-win relationship there?
No, it's a terrible relationship. When you look at ethical fading, it usually starts with really good intentions. It usually starts with ethical decisions that over time, when business, like you're saying, there's going to be gray areas, and it's when you do decisions that potentially have an unethical impact based on your choices, and you justify it with like the ends justify the means kind of thing. And here's the overarching thought here is that if you can't be 100% transparent with the carrier, with the agents, and like show them everything, it's probably not right. And so I'm going to give some examples. When you tell agents that you don't have a contract, and then you make them sign a form that is not an NDA, by the way. And on the form, nowhere does it guarantee that they'll actually release. But instead, what it does is it legally binds them. If you read the actual verbiage within it, it legally prevents the agent from going after them if they do something wrong. But it allows that company to go after the agent for anything that they want, and it legally ties your hands. That is not an NDA. And an NDA is meant to protect proprietary processes and information. And all of your information is on YouTube, so there's nothing proprietary about it. When you that is ethical fading, when you won't release your agents anymore, but you're telling them but you will. When you tell agents that or you provide a lead like this in order to say, oh no, we want to provide more leads. You're trying to get more leads to your agents. But you're actually hurting agents that left. That's ethical fading. Man, how many rumors did you hear about me, Trevor Dunbar? How many rumors? I heard I was going to go to prison in October. It's now November. Telling people rumors in order to get them to not even look at a person because you're scared of the potential people leaving because you're doing something wrong. So you're going to lie about it. You're going to make up stories and slander somebody. And it's being done by everyone at the highest level. That's ethical fading. And people see it. Agents see it. And that's why I can tell you how many agents have called me and said, only reason I'm here is because somebody told me to block you and that you were a criminal. And so I started looking. And everything you said kind of made sense. So,
for the first month is that I was told to be blocked by so many people.
Yeah.
And some of them had no clue who I was, but then when they researched it, they're like, "This guy's legit.
Yeah.
Why do you want me to block this guy?" And it's just it is funny. I think it's important because I think something that's important to discuss, Greg, is that people are important.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people. That when we came into that company, these are good people that are trying to provide for their family. And I understand on the big scale of business and, we want to be profitable. They don't want to lose a bunch of money. But dude, fix the holes in your ship so it doesn't sink. Don't come after, the people that helped you build the ship that you told us this was the ship to be on. Mm-hmm. You said this is the best place to be in the industry. We trusted you. We went all in to help you build your vision. Oh, by the way, being told to have a 5% spread between everybody that I hired. And so, being taught not to be profitable, being taught just to work and buy leads that were not in my best interest. They were in the company's best interest. Dude, I had one person call me about a month ago, and he's like, dude, one of the main leaders that's on the path to this, the big package deal.
Mm-hmm.
He called him up at 5:30 in the morning and said, hey man, I need you to hop in the CRM and buy the last 200 instant internet leads that are in there because the CEO wants them cleared out today.
Why?
So he went in, and what's 200 times $11?
Yeah, that's 2,200
He
ish,
goes in
or
and
2,400.
He dialed those leads for 2 weeks and booked 2 appointments. And dude, to me, ethical fading. This is like something that started out well, like we got this lead, we're trying to help. It sounds good in the moment, but at what point do you humanize what's happening here and take off the business lenses and just put on the people lenses, dude? Like, at what point do people start mattering in this process? Because I never did anything to harm anybody at that company.
Yeah.
I helped anybody who called me. I always wrote good business. In fact, dude, here's the thing. I actually had to help a client with a death claim for someone who was in my upline, and he was a leader. He was an EVP, and he wrote a policy with the main company 3 months earlier, got him approved. The guy had active COPD and active cancer, and he had a level policy approved sitting on his desk there, and he died. And I happened to be out traveling, and I was asked to go and handle this death claim because the wife was having a hard time with it. And when I started looking at the death certificate and I started looking at all the different stuff and the policy that was sitting there, I started asking her the questions. I'm like, did he know that he had cancer? Well, yeah. I'm like, well, when was he diagnosed? Well, like last summer. I'm like, but this policy was just put in place 3 months ago. Well, yeah. I said, did the person ask you any of these questions? No, we didn't. It didn't. No. And so I'm like, Greg, I had to be the person that broke it to that woman that she's not getting paid.
That's disgusting. That's learned behavior, by the way.
Listen, about 3 weeks later, I was in a group with the same person, and this new agent comes in for dinner because we were all like sharing an Airbnb on a trip, and she comes in all excited at like 9 o'clock at night. Guys, I just found out X company accepts COPD level, and she's so excited. And this person's face turns red, and he's like, probably want to keep that one kind of quiet. And so I end up asking this person later, because I didn't make a big deal about it. I'm not trying to, but I pulled this guy aside, and he's a lot younger than I am. But I'm like, hey man, I said, so taking the client out of the picture altogether, like, let's just take it, like, in my opinion, that is bad for the client. Okay. But let's just take that out of the picture altogether. Haven't you ever been concerned that you're going to build this multi-million-dollar agency and then lose your license for insurance fraud? And he's like, it's never crossed my mind. And I'm like, that's really weird to me that thought's never crossed your mind. And Greg, this goes back to, like, as young, impressionable people who are naive about certain businesses and processes, you don't know what you don't know. And dude, if you're coming under the mentorship of someone like that and you're doing all the things that you think are right because that's what you're being taught to do, and that person might even think that he's right because that behavior's been condoned or taught to him. He learned it somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and dude, this isn't like I said, we all make mistakes and we all have done things that we probably regret, right, at the end of the day. But the bigger picture for me is like, hey, are we having an honest conversation about ethics? Are we having an honest conversation about mentoring and teaching people the right way to do business? Now, I'm not a price shopper. There's plenty of happy Nordstroms and Louis Vuitton clients, and there's plenty of happy Nordstroms or Walmart and
And Target, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Now, and they're all happy as a clam,
Yeah.
right? And so I don't think that, if I don't think that you have to sell the cheapest product to people all the time. But if you're going to sell products, it brings service along with it. Make sure that it's actually the right policy for their family.
Yeah.
Make sure it's something that if somebody does come in and challenge it, they actually can stand on why you put them there, and then bring the level of service that you have with it. And so, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, Greg?
I'm going to tell a story because ethical fading starts with standards. And so when I was a young cadet, I was a senior actually in college, and I ran this event. I was an ROTC. I'm about to graduate. I'm about to be commissioned, become an officer. And so we ran these big events, these big competitions where all the high school JROTCs would come and they would compete and do all these activities. And so I ran at the top level where I was literally managing the entire event. That was a series of many different multiple events. And so I had to write the SOP, the standard operating procedures and the rules of engagement for this entire event. And so we had to go in and talk about who's going to show up, when they're going to show up, what they're going to wear, what the events are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then each event has its own SOPs and like what the event attire is, et cetera, et cetera. So something as simple as standards. All the teams that came in, they had to be in full BDUs. This is back in BDUs days. This is before the ACUs came out or the new MCUs. But the old Vietnam style BDUs. And that was the uniform. BDU uniform with the top to bottoms. Shirt could be either the brown t-shirt or it could be if you had like a team t-shirt. But whatever it was, if somebody in the team wore it, everybody in the team wore it. It couldn't be like half the team wearing brown t-shirts and half the team wearing, because it was all about uniformity. Everyone being the same. And so a team showed up and they did not have the BDU tops. They only had their team t-shirts, BDU bottoms. That's it. And I looked at them. I'm like, I'm a cadet, and I'm about to go in the military. And the cadre are they're still in the military. And they're basically teaching us and they're training us. And they're very hands off. They let us run everything. And then they kind of step in and say, do you think that's the best decision? do you think you made a really good decision there? And they're constantly evaluating you. And so I had this sergeant major, this really old sergeant major. He was a cool dude too. He was big. Birch, what the hell you doing? Just like scold me all the time. But I talked to this team. I'm like, where's your tops at? They're like, we didn't bring it. And I was like, did you guys not look at the SOP? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh man, damn it. So I'm like, I can't kick this team out. It's just high school kids. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn it, just go to the next event. Like, just go. I don't know what to do. And so the sergeant major pulls me aside, watches me, and he's like, Bert, get over here. He's like, hey man. He's like, why'd you let them go? And I was like, well, because they don't have the tops. Like, I can't kick them out. And he's like, that's right. He's like, but let me tell you something. He's like, you just broke, that was one standard. You break one standard, you can break all the standards. It doesn't matter how small or how big that standard is. That's the standard. And as soon as you break a standard for somebody, you've now broken it for everybody. And you've broken all standards, because you can break one, you can break another. And he was like, so how do we keep this standard? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, we have a supply room that's full of BDUs, don't we? I was like, oh, yeah, we do. And he was like, and we can have them sign for the BDU tops, and they would all be in uniform at that point, wouldn't they? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, yeah, so how about you bring them on over here and they get in uniform like everybody else? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But that lesson stuck with me for a long time, that there's a standard and you got to follow the standard. And the second you break the standard, you've broken it for everybody. And you at the top level, every single leader, every single agent, every single anything in any industry, when they see it, they're now following. That's the new standard, and they're following that. And this goes on so many different levels when it comes to ethics, because let's take, for instance, the bonuses, the agent bonuses that came out after we left. Okay. That's been used in order to offer agents money to come back. And it's being termed under agent bonuses for accounting purposes, which is, by the way, also illegal. And so when you do that, you're now telling everybody that because you're bright, that's bribing, Yep. That which is also illegal. You're telling people that's okay, and you can be like, no, we're offering them an agent bonus. It's like, but their production didn't match. Just like their commission level doesn't match to actually get their production is matched to the commission level they get. You're just giving out a commission level in order to entice them to come back or entice people to join your team instead of holding them to a standard. And that's why we have agents that are coming over here that are 125, 130% comp, and they're actually having a call with us and saying, practice our script with me. You're 125 or 130% comp. You should know the script. How, you know how long it took me to get 130%? I didn't come in that way, and it wasn't after 6 months, I'll tell you that. And I actually hit my levels appropriately in order to get those levels because it wasn't this way 2 years ago. And so when you do that, when you break it, it sets a ripple across your entire organization to where now when leaders see that, they're going to do the same thing. And then you also have a second dilemma here. There's people that don't agree with it. There's leaders that do not agree with it, and they're not going to operate in it, but they're still there. And by staying there, by not doing anything, not taking your team, you're telling your team, this is an okay place to work. This is an okay place to operate. Don't worry. If you leave, you've got to stay with me because if you leave, they're going to take your book of business and they're going to sell it.
Yep.
So just stay with me, but I'm going to protect you. And as a leader, I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if you're brand new, just got your logo. I don't care if you are about to get in a deal. I don't care. If you stand by, you watch that, you are just as culpable as everybody that's doing it. And it's not okay.
I think definitely just remaining silent, I think is a claim to guilt in a lot of things. Like not everybody can be a warrior, right? Not everybody is going to stand up and is going to do the right thing and to protect and defend everybody. I'm a retired firefighter, dude. Like I'm used to going into other people's trauma and making good of it. You're an ex-soldier. You're used to going in and sacrificing yourself for other people. Most people are running out of burning buildings. I was running into burning buildings. Granted, not everybody's wired that way. But dude, we've got to talk about people, because even a lot of these bonuses that were coming out, I've had a bunch of people reach out to me. I mean, I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she was like, honestly, we were just in such a bad financial position that when they offered me this bonus to come back, keep in mind, they were in that financial position because of where they were. Mm-hmm. Trying to transfer out to have a better life. Get baited back in with a one-time bonus. Well, once that ran out, all the same problems still exist. And she actually felt like she got played by some leaders because they're nowhere to be found now.
Yep.
So we went and it's playing, dude, it's firing me up because you're playing ping pong with people's lives, and the ball's getting hit off the table almost every single day. Mm-hmm. And to me, and maybe not everybody, but dude, listen, the value that you have from coming over here. I had some guy call me the other day. He was at 125% comp because after most of his team left, the person who was trying to get a big deal was like, hey, I know you're brand new, but we'll just give you 125% comp, right?
Yeah.
I mean, insane. But anyway, so he's like, he calls me up and I'm like, and he wanted me to think he was good, right? So he's like, yeah, dude, no, I think things aren't that bad. Like I bought, $400 worth of leads. I did $8,000 on it. I'm like, well, why would he want to leave? That's amazing.
Yeah, those are great metrics. Those are fantastic metrics. Yeah. I do that every single week.
He's like, whoa, but blah. And I was like, he's like, well, I want to come over. I said, that's fine. I said, so here's what I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Your biggest month was 8,000 before chargebacks. Okay. And you're at 125%. So I would honestly just stay there if I was you, because it sounds like you got a pretty good thing going on. Well, I don't want to stay here. Well, you got two options. You can either stay there at a 125, or you can come work with me at a 90%. And in exchange for that comp, I'm going to give you mentorship, and I'm going to show you the path to get educated with carriers. I'm going to help you understand how to build a profitable business and how to ultimately take care of your family. You're going to have to go do the work. And if you do the work, then your comp level can I mean, you're in control of your own destiny as far as that's concerned. But I have zero interest to run a charity. And so, like, I would, if comp is what you're looking for, I would 100% stay there. And to be fair, I think that you can be successful anywhere in life, Greg. I think anybody can make good of any situation. So there's people that are still at that other company.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to thrive. They're going to do great.
Yeah.
So I give them kudos and say, hey, if this is the right thing for you, then 100% stay. I don't, as we've been demonized for searching out a better opportunity for our families,
yeah.
I'm not trying to demonize them for something that might be good for their family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But he chose the 90%. And I think that, dude, it's not always the value that we package here is not just about, I was told that I was greedy if I didn't bring people in at a 5% spread. But dude, I'm a servant leader, and I can take servant leadership too far pretty easily. So when someone tells me that I'm being greedy or stingy, I automatically, my default
is to give,
to check myself.
Yeah, it's to give, it's to give. Yeah, I did the same thing.
If I give all the time and don't have an oxygen mask on, how can I actually be strong enough to truly help people?
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I was starting people at 120, 125. And now looking back, I'm like I was setting them up for failure. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, and really it was almost out of necessity because that's what other people were starting them off at. So if I would have said, no, I'm starting off at 110, then they would have been like, oh, okay, well I'm gonna go over here and get a 125 or 120 or whatever.
It goes back to that standard you're talking about, right?
Yes.
There was a standard in place that we were told to follow, but then people consistently would break that standard, so there was no standard.
Exactly.
And so we were almost forced to give away any sort of profitability. Otherwise, we just would not be able to be competitive at all.
Yeah, and that's where ethical fading really comes in. It's like that standard being broke. You look at it and they're like, well, I'm trying to take it. I'm trying to not be stingy. I'm trying to not be stingy. I'm trying to do this. We're not bribing these people. We're trying to help them with an agent bonus. We're trying to just grease the wheels and get our company moving. No, that's bribery. No, that's breaking standards. No, that's putting agents in the wrong position. I've had several conversations when it comes, especially with comp, like you're talking with agents just like that, where I had an agent that like she came, she left, she got like $10,000. She left. I didn't even know she left. She didn't say anything. She didn't ask for a release. She just disappeared. But there were so many people that were coming on that I was only talking to people that were like contacting me daily. And then one day she comes back and she's like, hey, so I left, I came back and she told me her story and I felt bad. And they raised her comp. And they gave her money and raised her comp. And she's like, can I keep my comp? And I was like, absolutely not. In fact, I'm going to lower you. Why? I'm putting you down lower because I can't trust you, one. And two, like you haven't earned anything. So I'm going to offer you this, which is lower than what you came in the first time because you already showed that you're not trustworthy. And so you're going to work your way up. And she was like, but I got a family. And I was like, so do I.
Yep.
And I started off at an 80%. So what do you like? I'm not starting you at 80. So I think you're okay. And she took it. And she was like, nope, I'm definitely like, I can't be here anymore.
And she'll succeed if she wants to, dude, because the thing is, no one's holding you back.
Yeah.
It's, you mentioned the trust thing is funny. And dude, I've kept my mouth quiet about a bunch of this stuff because, I mean, you probably wouldn't be surprised. But some of the messages that I've received and some of the things that have been said about me that could not be any further from the truth.
Oh, yeah. Some of them are disgusting. It's just like, really? Really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I've heard some crazy ones. I haven't heard anything about you. It's always about me.
But that aside, there were some people that came over at the same time that we came over, and in their coming over, they kind of broke relationship with some people over there.
Mm-hmm.
But then they started just causing trouble over here, like from day one.
Yeah.
Right. And then they end up going, well, I asked them to leave.
Yeah.
So they went back. Right. But for a person like that, or people like that who don't have a moral standard, or don't like have a moral compass to deal with, right? It's the people that are grabbing for an extra 5%, or for notoriety, or they want to be a celebrity, or whatever that thing is for each individual person. Dude, I think that success is short-lived, because any kind of character or any kind of reputation that we have or create over time, it takes a long time to build up a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes a couple of actions where you're no longer credible to anybody.
Yeah.
Like some of these people are going back, dude, they've been in the business for, a month, 2, 3, 4 months, and they've done maybe $20,000 a month in production one time, and they're being offered 140% comp. And in their mind, they probably think that they just got handed the golden trophy.
Yeah.
But they skip the process of learning any business. And dude, now that I've been over here and spending time personally with Christopher and with Spencer, dude, there's so much I didn't know, and still so much that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, dude, if you try to be a big player in a business without the right information, it's not going to play out.
It's not going to play out. You're not going to be successful. You're just not.
Dude, you're not going to be prepared for the problems that come. You're not going to be prepared to mentor and deal with people that are coming in. And so I think that's the biggest thing I wanted to talk about here, Greg. I mean, there's a lot of people, because obviously all of us are constantly getting people asking us, why is it better? Is it really better?
Mm-hmm.
Are the leads better? Yeah, dude, all of the above. It's better. But to me, it's an even deeper core issue of better. It's leads are always going to be a moving target.
Mm-hmm.
in forever, right? And so some of the leads are going to be amazing. Some of them they weren't as high quality as we thought. We're going to ditch them. We're going to get a new vendor. That stuff is in business is always going to be a moving target. Our leads are great here. There's going to be good leaders and bad leaders in any organization. That's just human nature. But as an overall culture of a company, and looking at the thought of mentorship and how people have even come up through the ranks in this business and have learned how to be profitable in a reasonably short period of time, dude, I think for anybody who's watching this particular podcast, if you're thinking about a career change, or dude, I get a lot of people 18, 19, 20, 22, 25 that are reaching out to me. And in lieu of going to college, they're thinking, hey, could this potentially be a good career for me? And I'm spending time talking to them about yes and no. This industry will chew you up and spit you out if you don't do it the right way. Yep. But yes, if you build it the right way with the right mentorship and follow the steps properly, and you're willing to work hard and put in the effort, put in the elbow grease, dude, in 3 to 5 years, you can create yourself a very lucrative business model. Whether you're an agency builder or just a personal producer, you become very profitable in this industry. And I think that, and I'd love your take on this, Greg, but I think for me personally, man, I would love to attract young people that are looking for mentorship. They're looking to come into a positive environment where they can legitimately see a path for growth, a career path that's going to give them the tools, the resources, the technology, the leads, the relationships, to where they can really feel good about building something great for their future.
Yeah. I agree. I the way I see it is I just want to attract people, like I was saying in the conference, I want to attract people that believe in the same things that we believe.
Yep.
That are going to be ethical. Like the fact that you had people that came on the team with you, and they left the previous company, came here, you saw that they did not believe in the same things, and you're like, hey guys, you got to go.
Yeah.
And they went back, and then they were like, oh yeah, everything sucked over there, that's why we're back. And they're doing everything they can, and they had their 2 seconds of fame, and now they're
we literally told you to go.
Yeah,
And
we
totally
we literally kicked you out, guys. Just so we're clear. That's because they didn't believe in what we believed in. It's because they were going to be a drain, and they were going to be those little pockets of toxicity that end up sprouting and growing, and just basically have a massively bad impact on an organization, especially when we're growing like we are. And so, when it comes to all overall ethical fading, that's why I'm so focused on transparency. Is transparency really does solve that? Because if I'm not willing to show an agent, to show a carrier, to show a client, to show anybody, to show Chris Curry what I'm doing, then it's not right. I don't care how gray of an area it is. It's not right. And if you're completely transparent in every part of your business, and that's what I've seen, and that's what I saw from the beginning, was that Chris and Spencer were actually transparent, which is hard to come by. So I saw that there was that ethical piece, and then when it comes to actually attracting people, it's like, hey, I want to help everybody, but I can't, and that's something that's hard for me because I love coaching people. I love taking people to the next level. I love pouring into people and helping them grow and succeed and change, and not just in professionally, but personally, interpersonally, socially, every aspect of their life, spiritually. And it took a while for me to realize that I can help people that believe in the same things that I believe in, that want to be helped, and they're willing to do the work, because I can't do the work for them. I can show them a path. Then I've been telling multiple agents, because they'll ask me well, what leads should I buy? Well, what leads do you want to buy? I don't know. If I sat down, I like mortgage protection leads. If I sat down with Sam Chan when he first came on board, and I told him mortgage protection, he wouldn't be the Sam Chan he is today, final expense master. You know what I'm saying? That's not my route to tell you. I can educate you on the different type of leads. I can educate you on what kind of clientele, but your option. Yeah. You got to select it. You got to commit. And so, I want people to come in that are committed to do the work. I can show you the oasis in the desert. I can't physically force your face into the water. You know what I'm saying? You gotta actually do that part. And so, I believe in attracting people that believe in what we believe in, because they'll work harder. They'll endure the challenges that are going to come, that will always come. And the challenges we're facing now are not going to be the challenges that we face tomorrow, are not going to be the challenges we face in a year, in 2 years, that we will continue to face, and it'll always be different challenges, because what got us here is not going to get us to the next level. Yeah. And that's my 2 cents.
And there's a difference too between coaching and mentoring. Yeah. At least from my perspective, mentoring is pouring in and coaching is pulling out. And so, my wife got she's been coaching people for a decade, but she got certified with Giant Coaching, and it's developing the 100X leader, and I think that, you do a ton of mentoring, Greg. In fact, you're really good at that. You've got, you're a great salesman. When I listen to you, going over your scripts and how you talk to clients, the tone of your voice, it's you can be a pretty dominant, aggressive guy, yet you also, when you're talking to a client, you know how to be a chameleon and how to really be empathetic and how to speak to them in a way that they feel like you care about them, and to where they're feeling that genuine care, right? Yeah. People can watch those videos all day long and be mentored by you from afar. A lot of us have mentors that we've been looking at for years: Dale Carnegie, Brian Tracy, all the different things, mentor. But coaching is that one-on-one conversation, kind of to your point, well, hey, what leads should I run? Well, let me ask you a few questions, and so I can help you make a decision as to what leads are going to be the best for you. Mm-hmm. What are your goals? What are your objectives? What does your schedule look like? What's your budget? Yeah. How are your interpersonal skills? Have you ever done sales before? There's a lot of questions that if we can spend 5 or 10 minutes drawing out of people and let them self-select, now they get the opportunity to go and learn and grow in their field. And if they made a decision that didn't work for them, they can either push through it or they can pivot to another decision. But I think that differentiating that difference between mentoring and coaching is just because you got good mentors doesn't necessarily mean that you're developing as a person if you're not allowing some of the stuff to be pulled out of you. Yeah. Dude, most of the things that I've learned in leadership have been learned by working with bad leaders. I would say 98% of my lessons have come from bad leadership, not good leadership, which is sad. But when you do find those good leaders, cling on to them, and really try to grow and learn. And ethics, man, just even to button it up, man, dude, none of us are perfect. I make
Mistakes will always be made.
Yeah, dude. But
just take accountability.
To come back and acknowledge a mistake and grow through it, even that in itself, rings of having good ethics. We're going to make errors, but how do you deal with the error? When people come over here, are you looking at it as a human being, and you're actually, dude, there's some people that I've respectfully said, dude, I don't think this business is right for you. Like, I think it's going to spit you up, and I think it's going to chew you up and spit you out. I just do. I think that based on the corporate structure you're looking for, the hand-holding you're looking for, I don't think this is probably going to be a good fit for you, at least right now. You can do it, but these are the pitfalls I want to warn you about. And then there's other people I'm like, yeah, dude, like, turn the rocket ship on, move fast, break things. And I think that, when you get to the end of your 6 months, a year, 2 years, you're going to look back and realize you did some pretty great stuff. But
yeah. Well, thank you for buttoning that up. And Trevor, thank you for coming on board and having a lengthy conversation with me about ethics and about everything that's going on in the industry. And I appreciate you taking the time. So,
you bet, brother.
Trevor, if anybody was watching this and they said, "Man, I really like the way that Trevor talks about the coaching, the mentoring, ethics, all of this, and I enjoy this conversation," how can they reach you?
Yep. Instagram, which is on there. You can text me, 406-220-3377. Honestly, there's a ton of great people at Advantage One Brokers. I mean, if you resonate with me, reach out to me for sure. If you resonate people within our team anywhere across the company, reach out to someone that you think is going to give you that mentorship, someone that you jive with personality-wise, value-wise. It's going to save you a lot of hassle in the long run when you make some decisions for yourself. But yeah, Greg, I appreciate you, dude. Appreciate what we're building here. It's fun to build this team, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Absolutely, man. I'm very excited, especially after the managers conference was awesome. It was a really good time. If you're watching this on YouTube, then do me a favor. I want you to do two things. First, hit the subscribe button. Second, turn on your notifications. I want to make sure that we're coming to you each and every weekday. This is the ADV1 podcast. I'm your host, Greg Birch. If you got any value out of this, if you enjoyed the conversation between Trevor and I, if you learned anything, if you were entertained, if you laughed, I don't care. If you got something out of it, then the fee is simple. I want you to share this with somebody else that can get something out of it. That's simple. And that's how we can help change an industry and how we keep the lights on. And we continue to bring you content. But for everyone else, thank you so